Yeah, I was laughing because I saw Patrick unmuted and I heard a female voice. I'm like, oh my God, he do a really good chick voice.
Yeah,
But it was just Katie. Okay, can I be able to share my screen, whoever's host?
Oh, yes, I apologize. I thought I had set that, but
You can do the presentation, Caitlin. I feel like you're just sabotaging this whole event.
yeah. All right,
All
go
right,
ahead, Anna.
perfect. All right, guys. If you see anything else on my screen, ignore it. All right, so the agenda is pretty straightforward. We're going to talk a little bit about how the CPA exam is structured, just a recap, and we're going to immediately go into applying for the CPA exam, followed by a little bit of just general advice when planning out your CPA exam or your strategies. And at the end of this, after the presentation, immediately we're going to jump into the alumni panel using the questions you guys asked in the survey that was sent out before. All right, so if you've been attending the tech meetings, as you should with the points requirement, there are some basic things you do definitely need to have memorized with the CPA exam, and that is it's comprised of 4 exams. Each exam takes about 4 hours to complete, but of course, if you're a genius, you can complete it before the 4 hours. You need at least a 75 or more or above to get credit for passing an exam. Of course, you guys know the academic requirement, you need at least 150 units to be able to sit for the exam. And 150 units includes at least, nobody quote me on this, at least 100 units of all those accounting classes. So basically whatever your undergrad degree covers, for if you're an accounting or finance major, it should cover majority of it. You would just need to take additional classes, including accounting ethics. So when you're planning out your semester, especially your final semester, make sure you have all those classes. I've known people that had to stay an extra semester just to get that 150. And you can take any exam, anytime, any order. Everybody has their way, and we can talk about that towards the end. Just know that if you pass once you pass your first exam, you have 18 months to complete the rest to still have that credit for that first exam. And I've known people who lost that credit, and it is not fun. So let's jump into applying for the CPA exam. So this is an overview of the process, the steps we're going to go through. The most painful part of the CPA application is waiting for you to get approved to start scheduling for the exams. What the process is you submit your application through mail, actually. So what happens is on the CBA, which is California Board of Accountancy, you create your profile online and it generates sort of like a barcode where you mail it out with your application fee to the CBA. Now, that's the biggest wait, is waiting for them to process your application and reconcile your transcripts. So 2 things happen. You send your application and you start requesting all your transcripts to be sent in. And I'll talk about transcripts a bit because that can get a little confusing, especially if you've attended multiple schools. Assuming everything's fine with your transcripts and you send in your application, between 6 to 8 weeks, it'll take for CBA to process it. And once they process it, they will send you an email giving you instructions on selecting your exam. And when I say select your exam, I mean, you can pick any of the 4 exams, so FAR, Reg, BEC, or Audit. You can sign up for all 4. You can sign up for 1 at a time, 3 of them, 2 of them, and we'll talk about a good strategy with doing that, but essentially you pick your exam. I'm just going to hypothetically say FAR. I pick FAR. So what happens is CBA communicates to NASBA, which is the national organization with accountancy. And NASBA will send you, as a first-time applicant, they're going to send you a separate email to sign up, register, and all that. But from then on, when you're signing up for the remaining or retaking the exam, you will pay for your exams through NASBA. Just note that NASBA is also the portal where you would see your CPA scores, but given California likes to be always unique with all these processes, you would find your scores on your CPA portal. And I'll show you guys my actual scores from when I first took the exams. This is about a year ago. But once you pay for your exams on NASBA, you get an NTS. And the NTS is what you use to register to schedule for your exams on Prometric. Now, with all that being said and going one year and out the other, let's start seeing what that looks like. So if you guys give me a moment, I'm going to drop in the link for the CBA. So if you want to follow along, you definitely can. And anytime you guys have questions, if it's like an easy question that can be quickly answered, just drop it in the chat or raise your hand and I'll stop for a moment. And I just have to find the chat button. There you go. All right, so again, if you're following along and you're doing this as I go along, you're welcome to, but I just dropped a link for the CBA website. I would have this bookmarked because it takes forever to find. So as you can see, this is California Board of Accountancy exam application. Fun fact, this used to look like the DMV homepage, but thank God they upped their look. I can't say for service, but look, wise, it looks better. Now, if you're a first-time user, you guys, you would do, I do not have a CBA client account. So you definitely want to establish an account. And here, you would just fill out your personal information. So I already have an account. I'm not going to be really doing this, but make sure this is, think of this as like your passport or DMV application, whatever is going to match your license or passport, make sure you use those names. If you're one of our alumni, we call them Spicy. So you're not putting Spicy Agure, you're putting your first name and last name. And I've had students ask me if they can use their CSUN emails when registering, and you can. Just keep in mind, you can't really change an email once you create an account. And if once you graduate, you're never going to open your CSUN email again, then you want to be considerate of that. So I'm going to let you guys create the account. And I think it's going to require you to go into your email and then confirm it. So while you guys are doing that, I'm going to quickly stop sharing and log in. Unless you guys want to, I have nothing for you guys to hack. So just give me a moment to log in. And I can take any questions if somebody has anything burning right now. And there's going to be a delay because I forgot my password. It's been a while, which isn't good. While I do that, I'm just going to kind of jump ahead with all this. So with your CBA application, make sure for at least the educational portion, I'll show you guys visually in a moment, but with your educational portion, you want to make sure you list every community college and university you attended that you're going to be counting the full 150 units. So for example, I transferred from community college, PCC, go Lancers, and transferred to CSUN. I did also take one course with Foothill College for accounting ethics. So essentially on my profile, there should be 3 community colleges. I'm sorry, 3 institutes. So if you've only ever been to like CSUN, then you should only have 1 education institute listed. So you'll be sending in 1 transcript. And let's see here. Aha, there you go. All right, perfect. I just need to check on one thing. Perfect. Okay, great. So hopefully you guys had enough time to get all that sorted out. So here's the welcome page to when you make an account. What is happening on the first page is just general information, and the best resource for what you need to send to CBA is always going to come from CBA. They also have a handbook, which I can share with anybody if they want it. They have an official handbook on everything CPA related, from passing the exams, from applying for the exams, to actually being a licensed CPA once you pass all 4. All right, so let us go through each part. It's pretty straightforward. And a lot of this will be blank for you guys. So here, your contact info is going to be your contact information. You could change your email address. I take that back, but keep in mind, you might as well do it right the first time. So I put in my personal one and not my CSUN one. As the directors know, I don't reply to my CSUN one at this point. Number 2 is additional information. So this is a little specific. What you do is, this is more for if you're licensed or you're kind of transferring your credits from a different state, because each state has its own different requirements. So if you're looking to move to, I don't know, Wisconsin, the CPA process there is going to be different than California. I think California is like the most tedious one out of all the states with the CPA application. So you would just put in all your information here. Education info is the one that you should be the most concerned with. And they do also list all here the requirements for the education side of it. Again, if I'm not going to speak on for accounting students, you guys should know at this point what is required. But if you're not a traditional accounting student, then you want to make sure that you get the basic accounting subjects courses. Even after, community college is cheaper, so it might be easier for you to just take those classes at community college. And I know some firms actually cover those costs. If you need to take an extra 20 units to be able to sit for the CPA exam, they do offer compensation for that. All right, so see here, like I said, here's CSUN, here's my PCC and Foothill College information. So again, this is really important. You have it because this is what they use to reconcile the transcripts you submit. So if you didn't include, let's just say you went to UCI, you decided you wanted to be a doctor at some point in your life. So you went as a pre-med student to UCI and decided, no, I want to go accounting route. Those units you took for as a pre-med student definitely do count as units. Maybe not, you don't need all of them, but it does make up for it. And I know if you're an international student, there are certain classes that are required for international students, especially if they transferred from community college. They do also count as well. The NASBA is very vague with what's allowed, what's not allowed, which means anything's fair game. Even if CSUN says it's a non-transferable credit, it doesn't matter for NASBA or the CPA, it counts. A unit is a unit. So information is just general information about the CPA exam, but status, so you're not going to see this initially, but status is where you see your scores. Right now, it's been a while since I took the exam, so I haven't passed technically, so you're not going to see anything. No credit, no credit, no credit. But if you passed an exam, let's say for audit, I got an 88. It'll show score 88, credit. And it will tell me, I think when it will expire. So remember, 18 months, it's a clicking talk. There is some information about what each of these statuses mean or what credit, no credit means. But if you go to the very bottom, for each attempt of the exam and what you registered for, it will show you. So this was like the original score. I also took the exams during COVID. So timing was when everything was shut down with COVID. So not an ideal time to be taking the exams. But one thing I do want to let you guys know is if you do end up for any reason having to retake the exam, you would, again, go through the same portal and redo everything. So here, and today actually we're gonna reapply for the exam because it expired, and I'll explain that in a moment. So this is the application. This takes 15 minutes at most to do. The rest of this is just like informational. So if you want to fill this out as I talk, that's totally fine. I just need to get the slides up. Just a few information you would want to know about registering with CBA. The app, when you send in your remittance form, and I'll go back to the application and show you what that looks like, you need to send in an application fee. As a first-time applicant, it costs $100. So when you're mailing out your application, your little barcode remittance form, you're also sending a $100 check to CBA. And the CPA is a financial investment. So you gotta be a little careful with constantly retaking exams and registering and selecting your exams, because that can end up being extra $50 each time. So if you fail an exam or it expires, you need to reapply, and the reapplication fee is $50. And you also need to wait for them to reprocess. It's a little faster when they're reprocessing your application because they already have your information, but it's still like a week, 2 weeks delay that you could be taking the exam. And as I mentioned, it takes approximately 6 to 8 weeks. Do not quote me on this because there have been very different stories. For example, students that register after graduating in fall, their applications process a lot faster. That's what happened for me versus people graduating in spring, because, you know, spring's kind of the traditional graduation. And with all these applications, there's going to be a little bit of a delay. And I would recommend remembering or making sure you check your spam when it's like the 6-8 week mark of your application to be processed, just because sometimes things fall through spam. So examinfo@CBA, this is the exact email address. Sorry, this is the exact sender that lets you know you can start picking your exams. And so remember I told you CBA tells, once you pick your exams, the CBA sends NASBA an ATT, authorization to test, to NASBA once you pick your exams, and that's how they send you your NTS and all the other information for you to register. Okay. All right, let me show you guys the ribbons form. So the ribbons form is essentially this. So you would print this. Okay, it has a little barcode so they know who you are, amount due. So because I've already paid that $100 initial application fee, at this point, I'm reapplying. So I would need to send in 50 instead of 100. And has all my information, my school, and you would just need to sign it and mail it out to examination, CBA examination unit in Sacramento. If you're somebody that doesn't really trust our post system, I would recommend getting certified mail. So what that means is you pay an extra, I think, no, but somebody fact check me on this. I think you pay like an extra $2 to $5 for you to get confirmation when the CBA has received your application. That's only if you're very kind of paranoid about that. I could care less. If my money's checked, there's my evidence. But yeah, so once you see this page, you're ready to send your application. Now, if you're somebody that's not going to graduate for another semester or two, this can wait. You don't have to send this in right away. Just keep in mind, if you send this prematurely, it's going to be annoying. If you haven't graduated yet, so you don't have your full 150 units, they're going to say, oh, you're missing it. Or you wait, I think you have 9 months after submitting this application and it gets approved to take any action. Thank you, Natalie. So 355. So if you're willing to spend an extra you know what, let's just add inflation, $4. Let's round it up. If you're okay with spending $4 to send in your application, that's fine. I don't want to spend $4. All right, so let's talk a little bit about NASBA. So with NASBA, like I said, it's a national organization for every state except Texas and California. You're able to actually see your score there instead of the state's board. And some fun financial facts about the CPA exam. You have to pay for each exam. So each exam is $225. So really important you think about your strategy with everything's planning with the CPA exam, guys. If you don't have a good plan, you're not ready for the exam. When you sign up for more than one exam, you have to pay for all those exams at once. So if you take FAR, you say, I'm going to do it one at a time. I want to apply for FAR. All right, cool. You just owe $225 for that one exam, and that's it for now. Or if you want to get crazy and you want to pay for all 4 exams, okay, great. $225 each. That comes out to $800 something dollars. I'm going to do the math. Nobody do it for me. If you do it for me, I'm going to kick you out. $900. Dung, I know you did it. Oh. So $900, guys. And you can't do, oh, I'll pay for that now. No, you owe $900 on the spot. I mean, you have 90 days to pay for those exams from the day that they send the payment voucher, which is a lot of money, with a lot of time, but realistically, it's $900. It's not really something you joke with. So just be careful with signing up for the exams. If you're somebody that is actually going to take all 4 and you're going to pay, on one hand, it's a very good motivator to take the exams and pass it because you don't want to spend money again. once you actually pay, so you pay the minimum $225 to take the exam. Once you pay, within a few hours, I want to say up to 24 hours, NASBA will send you the actual NTS for you to be able to schedule your exam. You cannot take or schedule the exam without that NTS. And the NTS is important because when you actually go into Prometric to take the exam, you need a certain number on it. It's technically your password. If you don't have that NTS number, you can't take the exam. And that's that. And let me jump onto NASBA for you guys so you can see what it looks like. It's a lot prettier than CBA. So here, I only share that experience of not taking all four or paying for all fours because I did it. And again, COVID was not good timing to do that. So you can see here, I actually applied for the CPA exam during my last semester. So this was like right around finals week is when I actually did the application. And here you can see score release, but oh, I got my states wrong, but California is one of them. Pending payments. So if there's any tests that you need to pay for, it'll show here. Here's a receipt, $839. This was when the exams were slightly cheaper, I think. And NTS. So NTS here, and I'll try and see if I have an old version, but it's nothing unique. But you would also be able to download the NTS from here. In the event, this is just for your own knowledge, in the event you want to challenge your score, or you think you should have gotten a different score, especially with the essays in BEC or the simulations, you could get, you could have it reassessed or appeal for your score. But I have not spoken to anyone that has been successful in this or has even attempted to do this. So I can't really speak on it, but this is here. All right, let's go back to the slides. All right. So that's it for CBA and NASBA as far as application, what it looks like, the process. Just to kind of describe the timeline with all these guys, think of it like this. When you apply to CBA and you submit your remittance fee, 6 to 8 weeks to process it. In that time, those 6 to 8 weeks, you could be planning out your study session, setting up to afford studying while you're not working, or for materials, or paying for the exams. Okay, my point is, please use your time wisely, especially between graduating and starting full-time, which I assume most of you will be trying to jam this into your schedule as soon as you can. So 6 to 8 weeks, it's being processed. Once you get it processed, you have that, you get about 90 days, or I don't remember the exact timeline for when your remittance fee is good for, without having to reapply for $50. But you guys want to keep in mind the 90 days for paying for your exam, and then the 9 months of that NTS being valid. So that's something I did forget to mention. So your NTS is good for 9 months. After 9 months, if you don't pass the exam, or you just let it go to waste, and another way to say that, then you need to repay for $225 for the exam, $50 for the reapplication. So you see these add up. So if you're somebody that is a procrastinator, like, oh, I'll just reschedule it, I'll just push it, oh, I can take it anytime, you can. But keep in mind, these things have a deadline and they're not very flexible with extending. Obviously, there are extraordinary circumstances where people need an extension. But of course, you procrastinating, you being sick, like a fever or whatever, isn't going to fly. So that 9 months is really important. All right, let's talk about Prometric. So if you haven't heard of Prometric, Prometric is the partner testing location where you take the CPA exams. If Prometric's popular with a lot of board exams like medical boards, nursing exams, and all that. Like I said, with Prometric, you need your NTS, information from your NTS to schedule, reschedule exams. And prior to July 2019, I think it was 2019, before July 2019, you can only take the CPA exam on certain days, on certain months. I think every 2 months, every third month of the year was a blackout date. So you couldn't take exams in March or July. As of now, okay, this is a very nice change. It's continuous testing model. So you can take the exam any day, anytime where there is a slot available. And good thing about the exam is they do have weekends available. They tend to break it up into like 8 a.m. exams and then 12 p.m. exams or 1 p.m. So there's a morning and there's a noon. Somebody asked me the silly question of, can we take 2 exams in one day? And you can. Realistically, you can't. And when I mean realistically, I mean, first of all, there has to be 2 slots available on the same day for you to take those 2 exams. And second, emotionally draining. I mean, these exams already take up a lot to study. And then the day exam, it's 4 hours. You do get a 15-minute break, but really, I didn't take a break. I was too nervous about finishing the exam. Prometric says it has a lot of rules, but it's pretty chill. Like, they don't really mention that Prometric has free lockers. So you can bring in a few items, like you can bring in your phone, ID, a little purse. I mean, it's not big lockers. It's like those lockers. I was about to say the school gym, but I feel like half y'all haven't been to the school gym. So the size of your high school gym locker, if you had one. And at the time I took it, you had to wear a mask. I don't know the rules I think you still have to wear masks. They can't really force people to be vaccinated with that, but you had to wear masks, and they do a security process. So if you're somebody that wears glasses, you have to show them there's no recording device. Remember guys, 350, you can't use a mechanical pencil, so they give you wooden pencils because they can't record anything. For scratch paper, you do not get to use scratch paper. You must let them know you need more scratch paper once you're done using it up. It's crazy. It's pretty funny. And Prometric's a free service. You already paid $225, so it better be free. It's a free service to schedule, and you can reschedule anytime, except there is a certain timeline. Like, you can't reschedule 2 weeks before the exam. If you have to pay a fee. And the closer to the date, the higher the fee. Like, you can end up paying like almost $90 just to reschedule the day before your exam. And honestly, it might be cheaper just to no-show it in that case. And I'm going to quickly look at the chat because I see some items. You can use Excel on the exam. So just the side information, if we have extra time, I can show you guys what the exam, specifically the simulations, might look like. Actually, they will look like this. Becker, I use Becker, and Becker's very on point with the simulations. It's exactly the same formatting, but I also have Wiley. I haven't used Wiley Sims. I would assume it's the same. But if you're not a calculator person or a arithmetic by hand person, you can use Excel. There are certain limitations with Excel because there might be some Excel genius who took advantage of it and they want to make sure it's Excel genius proof. Let me just skip over to the next one. All right, so again, some of the things I want to recap is there is a handbook if you have very specific questions about the CPA exam, licensing, units. There are other topics within that are actually, all these links are actually available through either Cal CPA, the handbook, NASBA. If you're somebody that, as a student, I would really take advantage of This Way to CPA because you can, this is not sponsored, by the way. I would recommend also being a Cal CPA student member because you get all sorts of information about the CPA community, especially since they're very involved with legislation and stuff. And This Way to CPA has panelists that are very unique. So they had like a forensic accountant weeks ago, a corporate accountant, somebody that's actually from the testing board for the CPA exam, giving a little bit of insight on how it works, yada, yada. They'll really take advantage of that. Now, don't take this as asking questions right now. I do want to address a few questions people had from the survey. I'm opening it up right now. So there are a few questions I wanted to address that panelists, we can still ask the panelists, but I think it might be appropriate to just get it cleared. So one of the questions you guys had was, where was it? Oh yeah, would you suggest studying for the materials like Becker while taking classes? And that's a good question. So to talk a little bit about studying while you're in school. You can definitely study anytime. You can study right after this call. You are technically studying it through your accounting courses. It just depends on the type of how committed and there's a diligent you are with your studying. If you studied while you're in school, how well do you retain all that information? And I'm glad we're bringing this up because you have to also realize that the CPA doesn't test everything. For example, FAR. At the time that I was supposed to take FAR is when the CARES Act came out. I'm saying came out like it's a movie, was signed into law. What that means is if I was studying regular tax and I wasn't really aware of the CARES Act, or it hasn't been, our accounting classes haven't really been caught up with all that, then I might not have studied for CARES Act. By the time I take the exam, it's a topic and oh no, I didn't study for it. Or the main point I'm trying to make here is things are constantly changing with the CPA exam. There are topics they take out or add, or you know what, we're not going to ask as many questions. Going concern was a topic they decided to just cut down. For FAR, one of the changes I noticed was not asking questions about taxes for nonprofits, because we never talk about that in our tax classes. I don't remember that. So you can definitely study anytime. Just keep in mind, things are constantly changing with the CPA exam that you need to keep up with, especially with the new changes. I'm not sure if you guys have been keeping up with some of the general changes with the CPA study contents, specifically with, my God, I was about to say reg, with audit and BEC. With audit, they're trying to ask more topic questions about risk assessment analytics and more IT and IS involvement and impact to the audit procedures, which are relevant. I do come across these topics while I am doing my work. So you want to make sure, again, you keep the things in mind so that way you know exactly what to study. best way to do that is look at the, do I have a link for that? No. AICPA CPA exam blueprints. The blueprints tell you what topics are specifically asked. And it's essentially, kind of think of it like how Professor Yoon tells you what homeworks to study for the exam, or when Dr. Weiss says what handouts, what sections to study for the midterms. That's how the blueprint works. It's here's what you should study and kind of the allocation of focus on each part. And there was another question. I apologize for not having this ready on hand. Some of you guys are master's students, so let me address a few things relevant to master's students. We did have a master's student that speaker a year ago, and I wish I had enough time to communicate with them. But for master's students, it's specifically if accounting was not your undergrad, it's going to be a little different. You should be able to sit for the exam if you do have enough of those units. And I'm not a master's student, so do not take my word for it, but I can ask, I can connect you with the master's students that have attempted to take the exam or passed it. But essentially, same rules apply. If you have the units, and as like, for example, MPAC should cover those accounting requirements. And at that point, you're undergrad, unless you were, I'm not making fun of any major, but liberal arts, and you graduated within 3 years, do you have the missing number of units to cover those as well? And I do see a question, is doing practice exams on Becker enough to pass the exams? I'm going to save that question for the panelists because they actually passed the exams. So they should be able to answer those questions. And let me highlight a few things about firms helping out with the CPA exam in case you guys didn't know. So a lot of the big four and some of the mid-tiers do offer the study material for free. Just note that if you're somebody that wants to use Roger, but the firm only offers Becker, at least with the big four, there's no flexibility. You can use, you don't get to switch Becker to Roger. If you want to do Roger, it's out of pocket, or unless you're able to sweet talk HR into letting you at least be reimbursed for part of it, you can, but usually the firms like to stick with what they already offer. And some firms even offer protected time to study for the exam. For PwC, you get up to 40 hours of protected time each year, and you get protected time to take the exams each year. There are other programs. I know some people take a sabbatical, especially as a first-year associate, you can. It depends on your timing. And you do need to realize that sabbaticals aren't really paid. So essentially, think of it as you still have your benefits, but you're not getting paid while you have time off. And I think it was mentioned in the chat, firms do reimburse you for your exam fees. Just know that they're not going to pay. They only do it once. So if you tried to take all four, but failed all four, and the firm reimbursed you, they're not going to pay again. And I would also consider the bonuses as a motivation for taking the exams, because your first year, if you pass all four, it's a pretty big bonus. I think for PwC at one point it was like 5,000, but I think they increased it. If you pass within your first year, and every other year you're with the firm, that bonus decreases. So if you want, a 5,000 bonus your first year versus, I don't know, 3,500 your second year passing the exam is a big difference to some people. I'm going to stop sharing since we don't have anything else to show you. Do we have our panelists? Caitlin?
So it looks like Thea is here, but I don't believe Karine is here yet.
Okay.
Hi, Anna. How are you?
Hi, Thea. Guys, Thea's the
Oh,
best.
Karine's gonna be here. That's good.
Yes, unfortunately, two people dropped out last minute, so sorry. Sorry, guys. But hopefully we have some awesome people here that will make up for it.
Wait, did I hear Karine is here? Or
She will.
we're waiting here?
Will be.
Okay.
I did say they could come at 2, so.
Okay, we have 5 minutes. Well, I do have a fun fact about the CPA exam. Doesn't apply to us anymore, which I'm very glad. So when you guys are talking, when you talk to like partners or principals about when they took the CPA exams back in the day, and I'm talking like Bopkins class or generation, they used to take the CPA exam back to back. So it was like a 2-day exam session of just like full day, all 4 exams taken all at once. I don't know what year they changed that, but I'm very glad. All we need to do is just 4 exams in 4 separate days. Just some interesting thing. How are you, Thea?
I'm good. I'm great. So actually happy to be here with BAP, the BAP folks.
That ma'am.
So yeah, the BAP fan. Yeah, and nice to see you, Tana. And Caitlin, thank you for the invite. Responding to my emails. And yeah, everyone else, looking forward to meet y'all. I see some familiar faces, definitely, or names, you can say. So
Have you started working yet?
yes, I actually have. I started last month, October 4th. So it's my 5th week so I'm working with Deloitte as a tax consultant. So I mean, if you have also questions about that, I was a new hire, please feel free to ask me. And then I guess a little background, I did pass all of my CPA exams before I started. So I was happy to get that out of the way, out of my chest too. So if you have any questions about that, like how it works, even the reimbursement process for my firm, I've done the part, the bonus and things. So we have that too. So let me know if anyone's curious. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're gonna ask all those questions.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're
good.
we're waiting for Karine. So
Yes.
our panelists are brilliant people because they both are recent graduates who passed all 4 exams before starting. Yeah, Karine also passed all 4.
Yes, and Karine, I believe, just got here.
So proud of her.
I'm proud of all my babies. Where is Karine? Karine, you do not have to share a video if you feel not up to it.
Hello, I'll turn on my camera.
Yeah, let's see that pretty face.
Oh, I'm upside down. Hello. Excuse my voice. I lost it last week, so it's still healing.
That's okay. Someone else had to drop out because they lost it this morning. So I'm glad you're feeling well enough.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
I have
I'm
my
losing
hot tea.
I'm losing my voice too.
Oh, no.
It's getting to that time of year.
I actually went to a concert, so I was yelling.
Oh my God, I forgot you
That's
did.
a much more fun way to lose your voice than being sick. So
Exactly.
I have to say, guys, when February 2019, when COVID was kind of in the States, but it wasn't really, a lot of people didn't know they had COVID. I did all these VITA trainings back to back, and I swear to God, I probably had COVID and I lost my voice while doing those trainings.
Oh, no.
I think you guys are in those trainings. I don't know if you remember me, was like practically shouting with a lost voice.
Oh my gosh, I don't
Horrible.
remember that.
I also got addicted to medicine balls from Starbucks, and that's when Starbucks was having a shortage with medicine balls.
That's so funny. That's actually
I
really
know.
funny.
It is. I'm going to hand it off to Joe to handle the moderation of the panel.
Yes, thank you. So we'll begin. Uh, First question for our panelists. What CPA course did you use to study? And what were your favorite features of the course?
Or should I go first, Green? You want me to take this? Okay, so like what Anna said earlier, the firm, I guess my firm provided Becker, so they paid for it. They gave me the code. I had access to it. I think after I graduated, or even before I had access, so right after I finished, I graduated in December 2020. So I'm not sure if I probably have seen some of y'all, but the new ones I haven't. So looking forward to meeting with you. So I used Becker, and I think that for me that was enough. I didn't need any other supplement, but it has everything you need. It has definitely the lectures. I also was able to get some flashcards. I had the printed textbook. I have the online book. You know, you have your multiple choice questions. Like everything is there that I think you would need. And if actually you ask me, I believe Becker is way harder than the CPA, like the questions they have. I think Karine, I know I asked Karine tips for BEC, and she told me the same thing, that Becker is way harder. So it's definitely enough as long as you do your studying. Of course, it's not going to be enough if you kind of skip on it or you're not really doing it. So if you complete all of those modules, you're getting good grades, making sure you're passing the multiple choice questions, getting good grades, you understand the material, the foundations, it's gonna be enough for you. So that's it for me.
Thea, sorry, correct me if I'm wrong. I have read that this is from different people. I don't know if they passed or not. This is online forums. They say that if you get 70–80% during the practice exams, MCQs, you should be able to move on to a different topic. What do you think on that?
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's actually a good, I think I've seen comments like that too. I've been active on Reddit. So Reddit is another great resource if you are taking the test. So that was my actually second resource. So my Becker, Reddit, and then the third one is whoever took the test. Because because some of them you wouldn't really get a perfect score because they're super hard. I don't know why Becker makes it very, very hard. But actually I would get frustrated sometimes, like, why am I not getting this concept? And then they would even ask you questions they didn't discuss in the lecture. I think they're kind of trying to show you that, of course, when you take the test, it's not all going to be there, but as long as you get the foundations, as long as you know what's going on or what they're asking you, the 70%, 80% is definitely enough to get you covered. So yeah, of course, it's not all going to be there, but it's a great start for you. So yeah.
I can go next. But Joe, can you repeat the question for me, please?
Yes, I can. So what CPA course did you use to study, and your favorite features?
So yeah, same thing with Thea. Let me introduce myself. Hi, everyone. My name's Karine. I graduated December 2020, and I recently started my full-time job with KPMG in the tax practice. So if you have any questions or you want to reach out, let me know. So yeah, same thing with Thea. I use Becker to study for all my exams. And honestly, my favorite feature is all of it. I thought Becker was so good. They were very organized when it came to just how they structured how you should study. I don't know if you guys have seen it yet, but it's all the same for all 4 exams. You have your lecture videos. Oh, I think it actually changed. I'm not sure what has changed, but for me, it was watch the lecture videos and then watch a short video, a quick practice, and then multiple choice questions, and then simulation questions. And it's the same for each section modules or whatever you call them. So honestly, all of it was great. And then if I felt like I needed more than what Becker is providing, I was a hoarder for my notes in college, so I would go back to my notes just to refresh, but I wouldn't go too deep into it or use my textbooks, because the last thing you want to do is overstudy, just study for unnecessary things. Or I would just go on YouTube and just find a quick video to remind me of what I'm learning. But besides that and people, yeah. If you know anyone who's already studying for it too, or who already passed, definitely ask them. And one big thing is to join the Facebook study group for all of the Becker courses. So it's not one big study group on Facebook, they split it up for each exam. So you have to join all 4 of them. And that was very helpful because when you start studying for the CPA exams, you would think that you'll have all the people you graduated with, you think that they would all be studying at the same time as you. But for me, like everyone like did their own thing and I just felt so alone. And joining the study group for with Becker, it was honestly like I did not feel alone at all because there you see a lot of people who are going through what you're going through, and they ask questions about certain topics and all that stuff. Anyways, this is probably for a different question, but I don't want to get too deep into it. But yeah, study group, join that.
Great. Thank you for your answers. So we are ready to move on. To number 2. What did your study schedule look like? Especially if you are also busy working full-time and having a life.
I guess I could kind of say a little bit about this. I did not work full time with the Big Four when I was studying, but I was working for a nonprofit. I was working as an accounts payable clerk. So I think I got the job from March until July, and I was actually taking reg. And yeah, I took reg while I was working there, and also FAR. So it's not like the Big 4 hours. So I tried to actually pass all my tests before I started Big 4, but I was still working full time. You could say 40 hours a week. It's not too much, but for me, I'm sorry, what was like the question? Like, can you repeat that? I lost the rest.
No problem.
Mm-hmm.
So
We'll put the question in the chat too, if that helps.
Oh, okay, awesome. Thank you.
yeah.
Okay, so schedule. I actually would say this is like one of the first things you have to figure out when you start. So very important for you to have an idea of what your timeline is going to be like. So I know for me and Corinne, we want to get done before we started with our Big 4 job because it's going to be a lot. So okay, by October, I told myself I should be done. So I had January until August. Oh no, yeah, September to actually do it. So I counted, how many months is that? And then I divided it. Okay, so if I have 4 parts, how many hours am I supposed to study? And when I was doing my research, they actually recommended 100 hours per section. And then if you are, maybe if you're like a fast learner, maybe you could do less. But for FAR, actually, I had a calendar. I had an Excel sheet checking my hours every day. It's like I'm working. So when I started, I would say, from this month of, let's say, February and March, I would do reg. And then, yeah, actually, I wish I could bring it up. Actually, maybe I can bring it up later while Corinne is answering some questions so I can show you what it looks like. So I would, clock in and I would tell myself, Thea, you have to study at least 20 hours this week. And then I have to make sure by, let's say, by April, I'm supposed to take my test. So basically, my goal is to do 100 hours. But I know definitely for FAR, I probably did 150 hours of studying to 180. And then BEC is less. I think I did 90 hours. So, it's different. It also depends on you, but recommended is 100 hours per section. So that's giving you enough time, and it should be enough preparation for you to pass it. And then if you're also busy, and then yeah, of course, I also wanted, to enjoy because I want to be able to, go on trips. I would actually be visiting Texas while doing that. So make sure if you let's say you want to go out on the weekend, just try to study in the morning or in the afternoon. So when I was working, what my schedule would look like is I would work from 8 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. Maybe take an hour break for dinner or at 2 hours. And then I would start studying from 7 p.m. to 11. So like 4 hours. And then on the weekends, I would do at least 5 hours. So during the week, you could say for 3 to 4 hours, 15 plus 10, like 25 hours a week I would have been doing. So it depends too. But make sure you have those scheduled worked out, especially if you have other responsibilities. I'm not sure if some of you would want to start studying while going to school or you have like a part-time job. So definitely have a calendar. help you out with that, because that's very important. I think that's how we actually not pass the exam. It's not really about, you don't have to be smart, you just have to be responsible, and you have to be strategic, and you have to be committed, and that's it. That's the hardest part about it. Like Karine said, you do feel alone because no professor is telling you, oh, this is due, next week. Oh, we have midterms coming up, get ready. There's nothing like that. It's all on you. So if you're able to have that discipline while you're a student, it's gonna help you out when you study for the test. So that's it for me.
Is it just me and Thea on the panel?
Yeah.
Oh,
There was
We
supposed
didn't
to be
like
some
the
more people,
others.
and then a few issues came up last
okay,
minute.
cool. Okay, let's see. What did your study schedule look like? So for me, when I graduated, I took some time off. So my start date was, tomorrow's the start of my second week. So start was November 8th. So I took January all the way till November. I told myself, just don't work, just study full time. I treated it as a full-time job. So however much hours you work, full-time job, actually 40 plus hours, honestly, like per week. But so and it all depends on like your strengths, your weaknesses, your schedule, and when you start full time and all that stuff. But the order I did was FAR, Audit, BEC, Reg. I'm in tax, so I wanted to do Reg last. So hopefully all the material would still be fresh when I start full time. But yeah, I treated it as a full time job. I mostly studied, like I would wake up 8 a.m., study till I go to sleep. So when I started with FAR, I actually went ham. I would study like 10, 11 hours per day, which is not good, but I was also just really excited, honestly. And it was a lot of material, but yeah, so treat it as a full-time job, 8 till whatever time I go to sleep. Weekdays, I gave myself weekends off because, you gotta take care of yourself, do something fun, reward yourself. With family and friends, honestly, I kind of just, I set boundaries with my families, especially. And I told them, hey, like, I'm going to be studying in my room all the time. Don't think I'm not doing anything. I'm just sitting around like a bum, because I just graduated. No, like I'm studying for my exam. So please respect my time. And yeah, just set your boundaries with your family. Let them know what's going on. Especially with your friends. I did that with them too. I said, hey, besties, like I would love to hang out with you, but I really got to study for my exam. So like just respect that. And like, if you're the real ones, you'll be there at the end, still wanting to hang out in November. Yeah, so communicate with your friends, because honestly, like especially if you don't have a lot of time, like I would just study as much as you can. Like you have all the time in the world to hang out with your friends, and it'll just prove like how strong your relationships are with your friends and family. But yeah, so that was my schedule. I studied 8 to 10 hours a day, but eventually when I passed FAR, because I thought FAR was pretty hard, I went back down to 8 hours when I started Audit, BC, Reg. Yeah, that's my answer for that.
All right. So the next question is, what are the tips that actually work for study tips that actually worked? And also, are there any misconceptions about studying for the exam?
Okay, so I guess I'll do the tips one. I'm trying to see about the misconceptions, but hopefully it comes to mind. So definitely with Becker, they have mock exams. I think that's actually very useful when you are studying for all of your exams. So I know people actually would skip it and they would say, oh, it's not really important, it's not representative of the exam, but it's a good test. Like it's a good it's like a run through of, if you haven't taken any exam yet, treat those mock exams like an actual real test. So close your room, you have like 4 hours to do it, And then that's what I did actually I took reg first. So I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know anyone who has taken it. When I took my reg test, I would just go through Reddit and see like what they experienced. And then, okay, like there's this mock exams and there's 3 of them for Becker. The first one is just to tell you how you're, if you're missing anything. The second one, you know, it's kind of a little harder. So it tells you like where you're at. And then the third one is like more representative of the test. So make sure you take advantage of that. And when you take those mock exams, usually it's when you have covered all of the lectures. So make sure you do that. Yeah, don't skip it. It's very, very useful. Even though it's not, of course, it's not going to be what you're going to see. The simulations, which are the hardest part of it, is going to be, it's a good practice for you. Yeah, and then common tips. Another thing is, I'm not sure if I'm going too technical, but when you take the exam, let's say for reg, some of the simulations would ask you on IRC codes. So there's a button on Becker where you can look at the authoritative literature. So actually when you do the sims, there's a literature that you can look into. So make sure you just know that. I think I don't want to make it too complicated. Or did Anna, did you talk about that earlier?
I didn't, but let me just give you guys some insight. So part of the simulations with, at least for FAR and reg, they do ask for you to research the actual codification. So for FAR, it's going to be the AICPA or ASC codes. And for reg, it's going to be IRC, which is the Internal Revenue IRS codes. That is part of the exam. It's not the most complicated part, but you know, remembering 350, one of the handouts or one of the assignments is researching codification. So definitely gonna haunt you in the CPA exam. Sorry.
Yeah, so like what Anna said, and then it's really useful for me. So there are gonna be, you could say research questions that you have to use those, right? But I found out that you can actually use them for other simulations that's not research. So let's say, oh, I forgot how much the, let's see, how much the taxable wages is. Let's see, what's a good example? Okay, let's see. Oh, I forgot like which expense is taxable. And then if you go to the IRC code, if you're familiar with it, you can actually use that while doing your simulations. I think when I was doing my actual test, I forgot one of the years. And then the IRC would tell me, oh, if I just look it up through the code, because you actually have the code with you while you're doing the sims. So it's definitely it's like a resource. So I was able to use those codes for simulations that I got stuck on. Of course, it's not all going to be there, but I think when I was doing my test, I had some time to kind of do research, even just to jog my memory, and I was able to use that. And even for audit, it's useful and FAR. So once you get started on it, check it out if you don't know what I'm talking about. But that's like, I think, a good tip that you should do. And another thing is when you're taking the test, when you go to the prometric, they're gonna give you like 5 minutes at the beginning to just kind of get settled. You can actually start writing formulas or just kind of relax. Or if you have some acronyms in your head and they give you a paper, use those time to kind of write some things down when you're taking the test. And then, you know, when you start then the 5 minutes is up, there's actually another 5 minutes or 3 minutes or something like that. You have to type in your password. So take advantage of those times to clear your head, write some things down if you need it, or not, if you're like ready to go, just like, okay, let me start, and then just go through all of it. So I think those were some useful tips for me when I was doing my test. So yeah.
Hello. Okay, so I was trying to write some stuff down. I remember asking everyone, like, what are your tips? And I heard focus on the multiple choice questions, like do that, like don't worry about anything else, just work on multiple choice questions. And I guess it just depends on who you are and how you study. But for me, that did not work. Like I need to go through the lecture videos, watch anything, like read all that stuff. Like I couldn't just go straight to the multiple choice, because when I did, I was so lost, and it took me even longer to work on the multiple choice because I didn't have that like refresh, that foundation before I looked at the questions. So I would say that would be like a misconception for me. When they say focus on multiple choice questions only, like if you're the type of person that needs a quick summary, like read a quick paragraph before you start answering questions, do it. But I would say it is really good to do as many multiple choice questions as you can, to the point, because honestly, when I did after watching the lecture videos and practice problems, I noticed that like I did so many multiple choice questions that everything, like when I would work on AICPA practice questions on their website, I would think like, whoa, like I already saw these questions. Like I did that many multiple choice problems that it eventually all was just so familiar and nothing really sounded that new to me. So yeah, do a lot of multiple choice questions, but don't, the way I study, don't skip anything. Like watch the lecture videos, do the practice problems. It'll definitely help and pay off. Like don't take any shortcuts. And it's like the CPA exam, you know, like, I mean, in college, when you take your midterms, like I'm sure you can find some shortcut to, you know, do all that stuff, but this is a CPA exam. Don't skip anything. Do it all if you can. Oh, let me do another tip. Another tip is the day before your exam. I remember I wrote it down. The day before your exam, I don't know if you're the type that would cram like right before your exam. I honestly, a huge tip was to relax the day before. I thought that was so helpful because you're already so stressed out that you need to rest your brain before your exam. So if you can, just relax, lay out at the pool all day, and yeah, that way the next day you're well rested and ready to go.
I do want to add on a few things on what everybody shared. So it's also going to depend on the type of learner you are. There is some logic with people saying only study the multiple choice questions. And one of the things is if you're not really somebody that sits and listens to lectures, you do save a lot of time for yourself by either reading through the books, self-studying. There's so many resources. If you're somebody that wants to straight do multiple choice and simulations, one recommendation I've seen, this isn't a personal recommendation, but one of the things that has been recommended in these forums, Reddit, Facebook, whatever, is Ninja Study. If either you can't really, your firm doesn't offer the materials you want, or you can't really afford it for any reason, Ninja's really good. They have a monthly subscription versus pay us, I don't know how much Becker is, what, $5,000 or something? I don't know, it's too much money. But instead of paying $5,000, you pay, $67 a month for each section. So if you are done studying for FAR, you want reg, you just tell them you want reg, and it's still the same fee. That's the founder of Ninja has a really cool story. I would recommend reading on it. It's a little inspirational. He failed the exam like 13 times or something, and now he has his own practice exam company. But really cool story. And that's what his main thing is, studying where it works for you, especially if I did multiple choice and that worked best for me, at least when I was actually studying for the exams. And one misconception. Go ahead. Sorry. Go.
Sorry.
No. Yeah, go.
No, I was gonna say I had something to add to what you said. The learning styles, right? Because I've actually heard of Ninja. I wanted to try it, but I didn't have time to like get it because.
It's, you know what?
Yeah.
I got Ninja. I like how they structure things, but in my opinion, it's all the same. I've seen Wiley, I've seen Ninja, I've seen Becker. It's all the same content. It's just
cool.
Ninja's a little refreshing with not being, how I find it overwhelming when things are too formal or technical. I don't want to follow the rules. With Ninja, it was kind of different. I have some of the material. If anybody really wants an idea of how to study, or at least get an idea of what's the good idea to study, I can share that material. They offer it for free, but I just have it on hand.
You know what I noticed, just like to add on, after working on so many multiple choice questions, I feel like all of these platforms, I mean, I only use one, but I'm just going to assume that all the platforms get all of their multiple choice questions from the AICPA website, like all of those release questions.
Who did I talk to? I talked to somebody that took FAR and passed it, and they're like, Anna, AICPA questions were on the practice exam. They were on the actual CPA exam, and I promise you guys, I am not crazy. I saw some bar questions in Becker in the CPA exam, or at least like pretty spot on. It's kind of like 450. It's like, they're going to be very similar questions, but the work and like logic is the same.
Also, another thing, I noticed too, like because the last class I took was 450, and I forget our professor's name. I already forgot.
Yoon,
But
however.
who?
Yoon?
Yoon? Okay,
Yoon.
Yoon. He and other accounting professors, their midterms and finals, I felt like they were the AICPA questions. Like I just remember when I'd work on some questions on Becker, I was like, whoa, like these sound like the exact same questions that our professor gave. And it made me think like, man, I wish I like took those questions. I mean, I did take all my exams seriously, but I wish I like really took them seriously because yeah, it's honestly just a great feeling when you're studying for the CPA exam and you realize, whoa, like I learned that in my class and I remember, or at least some of it. So definitely, like you don't have to, when you're in your classes, you don't have to master it, but it is good to focus in your classes right now, whatever kind of accounting class. That way you create a good foundation before going into the CPA.
Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely, I felt that for reg, especially 441. I forgot my professor's name too, but she was very good.
Gianni?
And yes, Gianni, I think she's still teaching.
You
And
guys just graduated, I swear.
sorry, we had to like dump some of those memories to make room for new ones. Yeah, but Gianni's class, I remember she would even say that I think some of her exams too were kind of CPA related. And I saw the reason why I took reg first is because her class was very fresh in my mind, and it helped me so much, especially with corp and partnership part on reg. And I was, I guess, really thankful for that class, that I paid attention. And it was really hard, but I probably just spent half of the time in reg. Oh, I've seen half of these already, and I'm so glad I took Gianni and even the VITA program. Very helpful, very helpful. And even audit, I had Doran. Now, see, I remember his name. I had Doran. When I was doing my audit class, I had no idea what we're doing, but I was just trying to absorb. And then when I saw it on the CPA, like, oh my God, I know these stuff already. It makes sense. And yeah, it gets more technical and complicated, but it's very helpful.
Yeah, I have a few more things to add since we're getting into a good discussion flow. One of the common things I was told is Yoon's class, and I didn't take Gianni, but I believe it when people tell me those 441 and 450, what's been taught in those classes actually does help in the CPA exam. And do not quote me on this. 450 takes a good chunk of FAR.
Yes.
Because it's all
Yes.
consolidation, it's governmental accounting. I think that's like a big portion of it.
Oh, it was a huge portion for my exam.
Yeah, it's a huge portion for my exam. And I promise you, do not take 450 for granted. 450 will basically save your life with studying for the CPA exam.
Yes, please. Take good notes, because I actually went back to my notes and I was so thankful I did that.
I
Don't
used
throw away
somebody
your
else's
notes
notes. I used somebody else's notes to study for that class.
I'm actually one of the people that took that for granted, because I was taking 450 when we switched to virtual learning. So that was like the transition, and then we were doing 450. I do not remember anything from 450 that showed up in FAR, but now with Karine and Anna, definitely remember, because we were, I guess, transitioning. But it's good, glad to hear that. I wish I would have paid more attention to
Life
450.
lesson, guys.
Yeah, I know.
No, life lesson.
Mhm.
If you're going to audit, take 450 seriously. If you take 450 for granted, you'll end up in tax. I'm just kidding. But 450 is very beneficial in audit.
Yeah, it is really cool because when I was trying to ask for advice, I would ask everyone that graduated, hey, did the things you learned at CSUN actually help? Like, did it give you a good foundation? And me answering it now, I'm like, yes, they are so good. Pay attention in class. Don't take, I mean, no, wait, I'm not going to say this. Yeah, take good notes. Don't throw away your notes. But you don't have to master it. You don't. You just need a good foundation.
Yeah, definitely. And I just want to bring up a misconception people think about with the CPA exam. I know there's a lot of pressure for you guys to study and pass after graduation, but before you start full time. And although that is the most ideal situation, I know a lot of people that have passed the exam while studying full time. In fact, some of the people that from my graduating class or even before, they are now starting to pass and get their CPA license now when they're seniors. Some of them are, you can't be manager. So a lot of them just got promoted to senior and now they're CPAs. So their careers are looking a lot better. You know, if circumstances lead you to having to study while working full time, I know I studied while working full time during tax season. It's not ideal, but as long as you know, just like what Corinne and Dia said, if you have your plan, if you have your schedule and you stick with it, you should be fine. I know sometimes with like Big Four, it's impossible sometimes during busy season to study. As long as you have your boundaries, you know your timing. Like for example, audit, our busy season kind of dies down after like during the summer and from like early summer to towards the end of the year. You know, that's a good 6 to 8 months of study time you can do. You have to sacrifice a little more versus not working full time and studying, but it's very doable. You know, you could, I'm telling everybody, you could pass the CPA exam. It just depends on how much you want to pass. I mean, I cannot reiterate that. I know, you know, I know single parents that passed. I know people whose English is not their first language passing the exam. People that are not
English
from
is not my
accounting.
first language.
I didn't mean to point out to you,
No,
Thea,
no,
but I know people that.
Yeah, I agree with that. Mhm.
It's really funny. I have a senior who transferred from a different country to the firm. I sometimes correct her English, but you know what? I am not going to question her genius because she is so smart that the CPA exam is just like a practice exam for her. She's like a manager. She transferred from KPMG. Corinne, you should rethink that. I'm kidding. She transferred from KPMG manager level, and now she's a senior associate, PwC. I don't know what we're doing wrong, but it really, they don't discriminate on like how much you know. It's just how much work are you going to put into to catch up and get to that. And sorry for sounding preachy. Please continue.
Oh, I want to
No,
add another tip.
yeah.
Oh, Thea, go, you go. I'm changing.
I know, I was gonna say, I agree with that. Just make sure you give yourself a chance to pass. I know if you do rush into it, if you don't study enough, it's really hard to pass. So make sure you know that you're confident that you just give yourself a chance, that you've prepared. And actually, I guess a little background about me. I actually moved to the US in 2015, and then I went to community college, so I'm a transfer student. Went to CSUN, met some amazing people there, and yeah, I guess if you have good work ethic, it should also translate into your CPA. When you're studying for it. So that's it. Yeah.
Another tip I would add on is to reward yourself. After a long day or a long week or after taking your exam, reward yourself. You deserve it. You can go straight to studying for the next exam, but it's so important to reward yourself because that'll help you motivate you and recharge and all that stuff. So do something fun for yourself.
Okay, so if we're all ready, I'll move to the last question. How did you deal with the mental stress of studying the exam and also taking the exam?
I can go first. How did you deal with mental stress? So important. This is what I did. Everyone's different, but I took 15-minute breaks every day. Went out. I had a pool, so I went out and literally just laid on the floor and just soaked in all the sun for 15 minutes because I would literally be in my room for 8 to 10 hours, wouldn't leave. But but that was very helpful for me for sure, because sun's good for you. Yeah, so go outside. That's what I would do. Stress balls are good too. um, but do something like 10-minute break, go walk outside, and it's gonna feel weird, but literally just walk around for 10 minutes. Just doing that is so helpful. Maybe do a quick workout, breathing exercises. Nintendo Switch, yes. Let me see. Um, Also, another big thing, this is huge during the pandemic. Everyone's doing their whole spiritual journey, self-care, self-love. So for me, I gave myself a lot of self-affirmations. At the end of the day, every time I would close my laptop and say, "Good job, Kareen. Like, you killed it. You did well. Go to sleep. You deserve this." Like, it's crazy, but yes, a lot of self-affirmations. Give yourself that, because you do deserve it. You work so hard studying all day that, just say it out loud, and it's not weird at all. Like, the more you say it, you'll believe it. But that definitely helped with mental stress. Also, another thing, I mentioned this earlier, when I started studying, like, I honestly felt so alone. I didn't know who to go to, who to talk to, because no one could relate to what I was going through. And so by joining that study group on Facebook helps so much. So definitely join that, because you'll realize you're not alone in this journey. So you can see, like, sometimes one day I think, oh my gosh, like, I have a question about this one thing, but I don't know who to ask. And then I'd go on the Facebook study group and someone just asked it. And I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. Like, I am not alone. So definitely join that. And you can even just post on there and just to complain about life and CPA if you wanted, and everyone will sympathize with you. Um, yeah, that would be my whole thing.
Yeah, and I guess for me, make sure, like Karine, she started with it, taking breaks. I would always make sure I had enough food to eat, or I would be eating good, because that's like one of the things I would reward myself, right? Or like, I would go to In-N-Out after studying for all day. I wouldn't really be I wouldn't hold it for myself. Like, I deserve at least to get a good dinner or lunch. And also, like, on the weekends, like after my test, I would schedule to meet up with my friends or just enjoy the day with family. So make sure you have those every once in a while. And I mentioned I would play my Nintendo Switch during, if I have some kind of time off. Also talk to my my support system at home, because like Karine said, you would really feel alone, because I went through the same thing. Some of my friends would try to study, but I was the only one really like going for it, and I didn't know anyone from mixed season. I wish I've like connected with her. I didn't know she was studying too. So yeah, make sure that if you can also talk to it up to your friends or your family, because if you have a good support system, I think that's going to go through a long way. And make sure that you set up your boundaries, because that became an issue for me with my boyfriend. So we're actually doing a long distance, and then he would always, I guess there was a point like I didn't have time for him. It was also kind of stressing me out, but after I set boundaries, he able to understand it. So yeah, that's another thing. So yeah, that it's it.
Yeah, I also want to add more things. It's all mindset. You have to change your mindset, and no matter what, the CPA is gonna be hard. I remember Anna said it. She was like, "No one said it was gonna be easy." And that stuck to me. I was like, "Yeah, you're right. No one said that." But yeah, it's all about your mindset, having a positive um, attitude towards the CPA exam, because it's gonna be hard no matter what. Like, you can't change that. So all you can really do is control the controllables, and you can change how you think about studying, and like every time you're about to study. Yeah, just stay positive throughout the whole thing. And it's okay if you want to cry. I cried a couple times. I cried like 2-3 times so far, that's for sure. I cried every time after sitting for my exams. But just let all those emotions out. Like, don't keep it in. That helped with mental stress for sure. Yeah, so just be positive, self-affirmations. You're doing a great job. Just the fact that you've been sat down and open all your books and your laptop is so good. Yeah.
Sorry, I was thinking about something. Yeah, honestly, I know Christian kind of put that as a joke, but I do want to address it that if you don't really plan on being in public accounting forever, you think maybe let me do 1 to 2 years of it and see if I don't hate my life at the end of it. And honestly, I support that mentality just because if public accounting is not going to be your thing, you might go into investment banking, consulting, anything outside of public accounting. That's fine. Delaying your CPA exam might be even better for you because you're not investing all this time and money and stress even if you're just going to end up doing something else. I know some people I know a few tax people that in the end they're going to go to law school and don't do the CPA exam, and that's fine. Or you want to get an MBA instead of a CPA because you want to own your business, or you want a more executive role, but not focused into public accounting specifically. And it's fine. I'm telling you, it's fine. I know people that have switched within 6 months of starting full time with me. It's nobody, the CPA exam is for you and your career. You're not doing it for your parents. You're not doing it for your employer. Well, if you want a future in a higher position, at least with the Big Four, you do need it. But realistically, if you're not happy with those, if you're like Christian, you're already stressing about CPA and your future. And I don't mean to call him out. It's just a very good point that's being brought up that isn't really discussed a lot while we're recruiting. Just keep in mind, you don't have to do CPA if you don't want to. It's just if you want to progress your career or your, if you open up your own tax firm and you want to make yourself more marketable, people prefer CPAs. They might not understand, it makes no difference, but they see CPA and they want it. It's just that prestige that people go for it too. And I will hand it back to Joe and Caitlin.
Oh wait, I want to add on something real quick.
All right, Karine. She's a CPA, guys. She knows more.
I'm not CPA yet. I passed my exams, but I'm not a CPA yet. I haven't gotten the license. Oh wait, what was I gonna say about Christian? Oh yeah, don't stress about it right now. You haven't even graduated yet. Wait, have you? You can put in the chat, but
No, I started studying for it, but
oh, you started studying? Oh, okay. Well, for those who haven't graduated yet, like don't stress over it. Enjoy your last semester at CSUN being a college student, because you probably won't be a college student again unless you're going in for a master's or another bachelor's. But yeah, enjoy your youth. I wish I'm still young, but enjoy your youth, enjoy college, have fun. If you're gonna graduate this semester and start studying right after, enjoy your holidays. And then after that, when the new year comes, then don't stress over it. Then start worrying about the CPA exam. But enjoy life. Don't stress. Don't stress. Don't stress. Whatever that song is. Oh yeah, but Christian, you already started studying?
yep.
Yeah, well, feel free to reach out to me if you want to cry. I'm here for my emotional support. I'll listen. Or if you need some more tips too after this, feel free.
I will. Thanks.
Okay, so now is the best part of the panel where you can ask the panelists any questions that you have. So it's an open forum. Maybe raise your hand or just put in the chat so we can go one at a time and we don't overlap too much. But yeah, go ahead, everyone.
Raymond.
I have a
Go ahead,
quick
Daniel.
question. So you mentioned there was a break in the middle of the CPA exam. Can you opt out of the break and just keep working on it, or do you also have to wait?
You can,
Y-
it's, you wanna go?
No, you can go. You passed.
You passed too, stop. Yeah, oh yeah, so you get a 15-minute break. It's optional, but I would recommend taking it. Yeah, just take it. It's good to take a break. But I mean, if you're really like going, like you're just on fire, then maybe don't take it. Because I actually had a friend who just freaking went for it. So it all just depends on you, but I would highly recommend taking a break. It doesn't hurt, and it's 15 minutes. Well, 15 minutes go by fast, but yes, take the break.
Yeah, to expand on that, you do get several 15-minute break optional. There's the optional one, and then there's kind of like the it's like not so with taking breaks during the CPA exam, the 4-hour time clock runs. So if you decide after the first section you want to take a 15-minute break, you're losing 15 minutes of that exam. So realistically, out of the 4 hours, you get 15-minute actual protected time. So you could just work through those 15 minutes, but just keep in mind, if nature's calling and you got to go, your time's still running. And Prometric isn't just going to say, oh, I checked you, you're good. It's hold on. Okay, show me your glasses, show me your wrist, pull up your ankle. That takes like another 5 minutes of your time. And if you're stressing, you're gonna be very considerate of that time. But yes, you can. I think Raymond has a question.
Thank you.
Yes, I have a question. So, I just to clarify with so if I'm graduating this semester and with regards to the application, like submitting the transcript to the CBA, do I do that after the semester ends or like in January?
I guess I can speak on that. I actually had a kind of sad experience. So what I did is I waited until the transcripts were released. So you said you're graduating December, right?
Yeah.
I think it would take until like second week or third week of January until the transcripts are official, and then you can request them to send it to CBA. And then what happened with me is I did that. I got another thing is if you're a transfer, you should make sure those other transcript from other schools are also ready. You probably could have gotten that ready sooner than CSUN because you're just graduating. But if you are a transfer student, make sure you have that ready. If you were taking an ethics class from another community college, make sure you have that ready too. And then those ones you can actually send them on advance. But with my CSUN, what happened is the vendor that sends those transcripts from CSUN to the CBA, they said they sent my transcript, but they never did. So it took me like 2 months before CBA approved my application. So I would recommend just make sure that you're tracking that. I don't know why that happened to me and my friends. It didn't happen to them. It was kind of annoying, but it kind of hold me back. So I think another thing you should be aware of is that but yeah, I think basically that's the process. Once all of your transcripts are ready, you create an account with the CBA, you submit an application, you send it to them, and then the transcripts need to be submitted directly to CBA. So that's a point I want to mention. So yeah.
Yeah, for my process, I actually asked Anna. I was like, Anna, what do I do with transcripts? And she said to prioritize your CSUN transcripts first because that has all of the courses that they're gonna look at, I think. Anna will talk more about it, but I did that. I waited for my CSUN transcripts, and then when I got the email saying it's ready, then I sent all my community college transcripts at the same time and sent in the application. But I'm sure Anna has more to say.
Corinne kind of said what I was going to say. When I initially first started this, the first recommendation I was told, the one misconception I was told is you have to wait till they issue the bachelor's degree, or at least I know there's an online version of the bachelor's degree they issue before the transcripts are released. I think that was a thing, but honestly, I would wait until you get your official transcripts in from CSUN, since most of you guys are going to be relying on that, and then send it out, because again, weird things happen. One of the panelists from the last semester, Alberto Aguirre, he sent in his everything before his official transcripts came in, and there was a lot of back and forth. And no, we don't like back and forth, especially with postal system. So he had to follow up again, and they had to re-review his application to make sure everything reconciled. So I would just wait. But again, you can still study beforehand, and it might be even better if you're, a common thing people say is, oh, study FAR first, get the hardest out of the way, and then move on. And if you're kind of in that mentality to start with FAR takes a while, and you got to refresh all your memories with that. So you might as well study something like FAR or Reg in the meantime.
Got it. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions or concerns?
So Thea and Kareen, you passed it all in one shot in 12 months, more or less?
So I passed everything, but wait, was it audit? I think it was, yeah, I passed everything the first try except for audit. I was actually gonna go to the panel from last year, but I just found out I didn't pass audit. So I was like, okay, I'm sorry, I have to go back and study. But yeah, no, I remember too, I was like, oh gosh, for some reason, I just had this feeling like I'm not gonna pass it. But yeah, so that, and I was already basically done with, I believe, BEC. So I decided, you know what, I'm already done with BEC. I already have my exams scheduled. I'm just gonna keep pushing forward with BEC, and then after that, reschedule audit. But yeah, do you have any specific questions about that whole process of not passing the first try?
So it was like, how many months was it?
Like how many months I study for each of them?
No, how many months did it take you to
Retake.
pass all 4? Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I passed. So I started studying January, and then I passed is September. Well, I found out end of September, so 9 months or 9.5 maybe. Yeah, it was. Whew. After I passed, I forgot about everything. I was like, I'm done. I don't care about anything anymore. I'm gonna celebrate. But yeah, when I didn't pass audit, I continued studying for BEC, and then I gave myself another, I think, 3 weeks to restudy audit again, and then I ended up passing. So it's totally doable. It's very normal to not pass on your first try. Yeah, but when that happens, self-affirmations, you got it, like keep going, maybe take a break, cry for a day or two, because that's what I did. And then after that, get back to it and just keep pushing forward.
Oh, yeah. And then for me, I actually, I think I talked about it earlier. I started studying in January after, I guess, a month after I graduated. And then I took my last test September. So 9 months, you could say. But I didn't take my first test until April because of the issue with the CPA and the transcript. But then after I took Reg, I think I would take 1 month, 1 to 2 months, take the next one, study 1 month, take the next one. So it's really, yeah, it just went for all of it. Yeah, went through it. Yeah, and then if you don't pass, it's okay too. It's good that you, at least you know now, because you know now what to expect. And also you have an idea of what the test is actually like. So when you're studying, you would just make sure that you remember, I saw this in my test, make sure you study for that. Because if you have a weak spot, make sure you cover those. And I want to mention that if you're taking Becker, make sure you do the simulations. It's not going to be the same, but it's really good practice, I think. And then Christian was asking actually what I think about it. I just want to mention for Reg, one of the sims I did was actually similar to the Becker. And for FAR, I think another sim that it is very similar to Becker. So, make sure you got your bases covered. So yeah.
I honestly think Becker did a great job preparing me for all of the exams. I mean, kind of for BEC, but that's like the IT section. But for the most part, I think Becker did a great job. So if you have access to Becker, definitely take advantage of it. Like I said, just follow their process, just follow it. Like they have it all set up for you. The simulation exams, they give you 3 mock exams, and they honestly like they do a really good job representing, well, not representing, but it's literally the CPA platform, I guess that's what you would say. It's literally like when you go sit at the exam, it's the same thing that Becker's going to show you on those practice exams. So nothing's going to be foreign to you at all. Like you've seen it, you know how the system works. Let me think what else. The simulations, yeah. Christian, if you can do the simulations, like the heavily tested ones that people post on the Facebook study group, focus on those, but don't neglect the other toppings. Also, if you have time, go on the AICPA website, and they have the practice exams too, where they give you like 10 multiple choice and then 8 simulations, I think, or 6. I remember taking that practice exam on the AICPA website, and I remember thinking, well, one of the ones I actually worked on was the exact same thing on the actual exam. So work on those problems too. Like any resource you have, really just use it. All the ACPA practice, simulations, everything. Use it if you have time.
I agree with that. The AICPA, it's very important. If you don't have, let's say you're on your last week and you haven't gone through it, make sure you go through it at least once before you sit for your exam. If you want to do it 2 days before, I think I would actually do it 2 to 3 days before, so it's really fresh, because those questions are very similar to the ones you're going to see on the test. Yeah. And if you do good on the AICPA, I think you're going to be fine. And then I want to add final review. It's another source of resource from Becker. It came with my bundle from the firm, so I used it. So it's kind of like a compressed version of the whole lecture. If you have time to go through that, it's very useful, especially for audit, because audit has so many different sections, right? But when I went to the final review, it put them all together. It's like a big picture perspective, because if you go through the lecture, it's kind of like one portion at a time. But final review, the little book that they give you, it's like it summarizes all of it. So if you have time to do that, make sure you do that also. But if you don't, just make sure you get the main lectures done. And then another thing I want to add, Anna was mentioning earlier with your learning strategy. I think for BEC, I guess my method is I would first read the book, go through the lecture, then do the multiple choice. But sometimes I would skip the lecture if I've read all of it and it makes sense to me. Like, oh, I don't have to read the lecture because it's kind of easy, self-explanatory, and it kind of saves me time. So I skipped some of the lectures for BEC because some of them, the instructors were just reading it. There's not really saying anything. And then BEC has the option for you to see what the notes were. If you click on it, they're going to show you what the notes are. So I just copied them, but I didn't really go to the lecture. Yeah, but most of them I still did. So yeah, it depends on what works for you. And I know Ninja, I think that one has, is it the one that has audio that you can listen to? I'm not sure, but I think I heard something like that. So whatever works for you. Yeah, feel free to explore those other resources. No.
Also, Christian and anyone who's studying right now, I found this really, for the last like 2-3 weeks of reviewing, I had no idea how to go about it, but I found this really cool like post or schedule that someone put on the study group Facebook group chat. Yeah. So I saved it. So if you want that, remind me, message me after, and I'll send it to you, because I thought it was really helpful when it came to reviewing everything.